overwhelming how everything was really expensive in price. And then I learned about Beeple and how the $69 million sale was the catalyst of the whole NFT season. And I started learning that you can actually own a picture online and that you can't really copy and paste it. You can't really screenshot it and use it. You only like there is technology behind it. You can make money off of it. So at first I thought I wanted to be a trader, to be honest. So I thought like this is a great opportunity to trade and learn how to do this and make money and learn. But what really got me to like stick around and decide to quit everything was how much fun the people were having while working on new stuff and making money. I really remember this very vividly. I was the first, one of the first in my country to learn about it. I was seeing cartoon PFPs, people having fun, people making money while having fun, making friends. And I remember one person who had a frog PF. It wasn't any project that is known now. It was a different one, but he had a frog PFP, and he was like, "Is how you can make friends in a Discord server and how much the Discord server is active." And I was like, wow. So if you can make good conversation, if you can hype things up and have fun, it means this is going to be successful. So and that was how it used to work back in the day, because it was very similar to how meme coins work now. So if everything is hyped up, it means it was going to succeed, but it was NFTs rather than the meme coins. So I got super passionate about it. I'm a very social person, so I love people. I love talking to people. I love understanding everything about them. So I got super passionate about it, and I started building everything on X, which was Twitter back in the day.
Yeah. And what did you initially start building? Is it and we'll dive obviously more into what you're doing now, but is what you're doing now, what you initially started with, or was there any other projects you maybe got involved with and started working on initially?
I love this question because a lot of my current followers, with the people that interact with me now, are new people who didn't know me back in the day. But I have worked with over 40 plus projects and individual, more than 50. And I have tried to start more than 2 to 3 things of my own in the past. I have tried to start multiple things, and they didn't completely fail, but I took a bit of everything and put it into what I'm building now. But I have tried. I had a kind of a startup, but it wasn't really a startup because I was freelancing and I built a team around my name. So it was Marianne and the team. So I try to put a name to it just so it becomes an entity. So we were also doing community management, but I was executing back in 2021. So I was mainly the CM and executing, and with a team of mods and collab managers. But that changed, and then I was freelancing on my own, sometimes without the team, sometimes they only wanted individuals. I also worked with some projects as an employee. I started a daily spaces show that lasted for 10 months. I started a sort of an engine, a sort of a course that helped people, but it wasn't a course that was written. It was a constant live calls with people to help them grow their brand. Um, it worked, but it wasn't sustainable. So I tried multiple things, and now working with CDFI, still working on consulting and marketing with some projects, and ultimately building Kiwi.
Nice. Yeah. And the reason why I asked that is because, a common theme I've definitely discovered in the space is that anyone who's building really anything has kind of tried to build a lot of other things. I think that's just a general thing, not even just in crypto, but just broader when it comes to the entrepreneurship aspect of things. But with crypto, the themes and the things that are happening in the space move so quickly. I feel like there's so many different kind of cookie jars that we've all stuck our hands into. So with Kiwi today, what ultimately led you into more of the kind of branding aspect? It seems just from my quick glance at everything that it's definitely more on the kind of social and branding aspect of things versus the technical, which I do think is a really great thing in this space because at the end of the day, something that we've talked a lot about on this podcast and in various other places is that this space is basically just filled with a lot of devs and technical people, and that is a great thing, but it also means that our message can't get spread quite as easily. So what's kind of led you towards the other side of the spectrum with more communication?
I was always a people's person, so I was always interested in speaking in public. I was always in leadership positions in NGOs and some sort of organizations and workshops. I love dealing with people. I was in a really cool club when I was younger where I had a leadership position where I needed to advise a lot of people who were younger than me based on my experience and take care of them and prepare games where these games needed to have a sort of a sort of a learning aspect to it. And as I'm saying these things, you can immediately notice that it is kind of very similar to how you need to attract people to an NFT or general Web3 community. So you need to entertain them. You need to be very entertaining. You need to know how to use the right words to attract people who are very difficult. So I used to deal with teenagers, and I was still a teenager myself. So it was like 2 years. I was 2 years older than them, and I had to deal with them. It was kind of a Girl Scouts things, but Girl Scouts in my country is very different than in the U.S. and America in general. So it's a very, very advanced and developed organization where people learn so much. So the hardest thing I've ever done was being a teenager and needing to have other teenagers listen to me, be entertained, and not think that everything is lame and everything is boring and like, what are you even doing, girl? Because like, you need to let them play games, but without them feeling like you're a fool or like you're a boring person because they think they're too cool for everything at that age, 14, 15. So I was really into these things. I was really into understanding how these people can get interested in something. How can I convey a message through something that can entertain this specific target audience? So I was kind of doing marketing and copywriting and communications and guerrilla marketing since I was a child without even noticing that I was doing that. And I was always very, very passionate about that. I was even like always a sort of a sort of a promotion leader or class president. I don't know what you guys call it when I was back in school because I love taking care of the students, listening to them, hearing what's bothering them, how can we make it better, how can we improve the class, how can we improve everything that we're doing, how can we make school fun. So I always loved people. I always loved understanding how their brain works. How can I appeal to a class of 30 people, knowing that each one of them has different needs and different interests, and combining all of those together and finding their common goal, which is actually to survive school because it was very boring. So I was always that kind of person, loved that. And so coming into Web3 and understanding that every single project needs to rely on community to succeed because in web 2 it's very different. In web 2 you need to have a good product, good investors. You just need to build your company very slowly, very carefully, and then the community comes later. The community comes later after they use your product, after they're interested in your product. But here it's different. Here the community can get very, very tough on you if you're selling something and the price doesn't go up. So you need to focus on short term and you need to focus on a long term product that is going to keep the sharks and whales into coming into your project. So it is very much more complex. It's basically a mixture of teenagers and adults and older people and middle-aged men, middle-aged women. So it's a larger spectrum, but it's much, much more interesting on that scale.
Yeah, and that leads us nicely into kind of diving into a little bit more of the, say, on the ground type of tactics. So when you're, let's say looking at, a newer Web3 ecosystem, or really, I mean, at any stage of maturity, community is extremely important. So when you're kind of getting involved with them initially, what are some kind of maybe initial questions that you would hit them with to kind of gauge? Because I'm sure, when you get involved with a community, you're trying to gauge, the current status of the community, how involved those, current community members are, what's being done to keep them engaged and happy and active. So what are some of the, kind of metrics or questions that you'll use to get that kind of initial, lay of the land?
This is an awesome question. This is the first time anyone asked me this, and this is the smartest question I've ever had. Um, I think the best way to understand what a person needs. So you get imagine you're a community manager, you're inside a Discord server. These people, there is something I always say. The average Web3 user is in over 2, 3, 4, 500 Discord servers. And they only open five a day. So I am in 500 Discord servers. I only check up on five every single day. So how do you want to make this community one of the five they open every single day? So the question that is the most important for a CM, for example, or a community lead, or even a founder to ask is, because if you ask them the question directly, they won't know how to answer you. They even won't know what makes a community engaging. Why am I engaged in this and not that? So the best way to know that is to ask them, what do you think? For example, let's say you're building an NFT project, you ask them, what do you think is missing right now in communities? What do you think founders are failing to notice to make NFT communities interesting again? And they will tell you everything that they think can be done better, and this is what they genuinely think is valuable to them to be interacting within a community. So if you ask a person, why do you think meme coins are failing right now, they'll tell you there are so many meme coin communities that are getting out. Not many are succeeding because the teams are immediately giving up on their community. So you know that they want a team they can rely on, and that won't immediately give up on the community after a tiny pump. So you make sure to prove to them indirectly that you are going to stay here for the long term. And this is one of the multiple aspects that you can work on, but understanding their pain point, it's very similar to sales, but you have to be a little more indirect, because if you're very direct, it might confuse them. So just understand what they think is missing, because first, you're giving them importance by asking them questions about what they feel, which is very natural to the human being. They want to feel important, they want to feel like they matter, because this is what will make them feel like they belong in here, that people care about them. And when they feel like they're cared for, they will stick around. And then that you care about their opinion. And you start noting these down, adding the person's name who said this. This is a very big secret, by the way. Not everybody does that. Not everybody knows about it. You open a sheet. After asking this question, you write down that question on the top of the sheet. You write down every single answer with the name of the person who answered. And then this is how you can get closer to your community. This is how you can get closer to the people individually and collectively.
Yeah, I love that idea of maintaining a sheet of, because obviously, especially depending on the size of the community, it's going to be really hard to keep track of that. So I really like that idea. And what you said about people's names reminds me of How to Win Friends and Influence People in that book. One of the kind of main takeaways is that every single human being has a favorite word in the English language, and it's their name. So it's their own name. People love to hear their own name, and they love to know that they're seen and heard. So kind of following this timeline. So you've kind of talked about how when you first get started, you'll kind of start to understand the customer and the community member and what they're looking for. After that, what would be kind of your tactical mindset in terms of maybe making some changes within whether it's the leadership of how the say the Web3 company is managing the community, or changes kind of from a more kind of more technical aspect with the actual like Discord, or wherever the community is gathering. What are some kind of changes that you might look to make after you start to understand the customer more?
You have to make sure you build a cult, not the creepy way. Um, what I mean by cult is, for example, letting these people feel like they belong somewhere through things that happen regularly in that place. So let's say create names for them. The roles on Discord help a lot. Letting them win something. If I'm gonna talk later about incentivization, because I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, but it is necessary sometimes. But building a cult is it. So you want people to come back every day because, for example, one of the cultish behaviors that we have on CT is the GM. We come back every day to say GM. We feel weird if we don't. and we want to engage with all the people that say GM because this is our culture. So building a cult is building a culture within this community. So let's say you have a ritual of going on VC every day to play a specific game. This is a cultish behavior. And people will get used to that. People will feel like, oh my God, this is something that really gives me peace. I want to join this VC every day. I want to hear what they're talking about. I want to play that game with them. And so you need to understand, when you build the culture, this culture can only be maintained if you're really listening to the market's needs. Because at the end of the day, we shouldn't forget that we're in Web3. So people have short attention spans. If you're not if you're not satisfying your community's wants and needs, another project will, you know? So the best thing to do is to keep things interesting at all times. And how to do that is to have a lot of plans, but do not reveal all your cards at once. So you have and this is something that I always tell people, if you have so many good cards, don't play all of them pre-mint, because if you play, and we see this scenario happen every single time, and I don't know why people are not learning. They show all their cards pre-mint, and then they don't have anything left for post-mint, and you see how things dump immediately. You see how NFTs are dumping immediately. Gaming TGs, the tokens are dumping immediately because all the cards are revealed pre-mint. So, and people are not entertained at all times. And this is why Pac Moon succeeded, by the way, because they had to reveal new things at all phases, even after the airdrop, before the airdrop. After airdrop one, there was number two. After number two, there was number three. And they adapted really quickly to the changes. So, building a culture, keeping things entertaining, and not revealing all your cards at once. And when I say keeping things entertaining, I don't just mean playing games and announcing partnerships, but it's also knowing how to shift from your initial plan to adapt to what the market wants right now. Because if the market right now wants a free mint and you have a very pricey mint, nobody's going to care about you because they're going to go to what's trending right now. So you have to be smart enough to find a way to merge between what's trending right now without giving up on all your values and your initial vision. So adapting to changes is very important here, because so many teams are, I don't want to say a bad word, but they're really attached to their initial vision too much. And this is what happens in Web 2. You just follow your plan and it works. And then things change slower than in Web 3. But in Web 3, one day you have Discord, and now you have Frank who started the Telegram meta for NFTs. So you need to listen to that as well. And if you don't, Frank will take them from you. So this is just a tiny example.
Yeah, I mean, in the process of building Inleo, I mean, we've gone through a lot of adaptation, so I definitely can appreciate that. That aspect of just being able to evolve with what you hear from your. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what you hear from the market, what you hear from your community, and you need to be able. You don't want to be too rigid. You want to be able to kind of evolve with it. And Morty said in the chat, I didn't even think of this, but uh, he wrote culture with cult emphasized to emphasize the cult part of it. So definitely a good emphasis there. Kind of speaking on those like cult tactics, I really liked when you shared some examples like the GM. A lot of people kind of wonder, what's the point of people saying GM or GM friends all the time. What are some other kind of interesting kind of cult behaviors that you've seen kind of across the Web3 space, and what have you seen that kind of works and doesn't work?
There are so many actually. The first of them, other than the GM, being the PFP. Because like for example, whenever you change your PFP into a higher level NFT, people will respect you more somehow. And this works. It makes me sad. It makes me genuinely sad, but it's so real. It's similar to owning a G class and owning a Toyota. Even if both are functional cars that can take you from place A to place B in the same way, and sometimes Toyotas are even better. But if you have a Lamborghini, people will look at you in a different way and will speak to you in a different way. So social status is something that we apply a lot in Web3 with the profile pictures. A lot of people make sure. So for me right now, it will be way better to have my face as my profile picture because I'm interacting with a lot of Web2 people as well. But it is very important for me to keep my PFP as a cartoon PFP because this is the culture that we have built in Web3 right now. I belong to the persona community. I have this PFP. I connect with people. For example, New Ties right now. I could notice New Ties out of all people because he has a persona PFP, and we have met multiple times. I've had extensive sometimes I even respond faster, and this is with multiple people. You tend to respond faster to higher status NFTs than lower status NFTs. And this is not like, whenever you notice that, you change it. But the initial act of you responding or not responding to a DM before you notice that you are doing that, it's technically if the NFT is of higher class or not. Similar to when you decide to go speak to a person in a G class and not to a person in Nissan or Toyota, but maybe it's just the same type of person, but one person doesn't care about flaunting a car in front of other people. So, and it takes time for you to become aware of that. And when you get aware of that, you try to change it, but it is hard to maintain. So PFPs are one thing. Social status is a big thing in Web3. GMs, belonging in Discord servers, even some words. For example, now everybody's using the word chat. Hey chat, do you do this? Do you do that? Going on spaces and screaming at some point was a very cultish thing to do, because there was a one specific spaces host that used to scream all the time, and it was the trend. um I would also say entitlement is part of the culture, even though I hate it, but I like to talk about the positive and the negative equally. Everybody's entitled. I'm building a company, I'm building Kiwi, and I'm not selling an NFT. I am not, nobody has anything. I don't owe anyone anything. I'm just posting posts, making studies, building something of my own. Nobody has put any dime into my company. I'm not selling any NFT. And still, sometimes in my comments, people are like, yeah, prove to me that you're DMing those people. Dude, I don't have anything to prove to you. Why do you want proof? I am building my own thing. Why are you entitled? You go be entitled to the projects where you have spent money onto, not onto me. So entitlement has become part of the culture. I really hate it a lot, but it is part of it. We have to live with it, just like we have to live with a lot of negative things that are part of the culture in Web 2 as well. So these are the main things: PFPs, entitlement, GMs, being in Discord servers, and feeling feeling more important if you're in a more exclusive Discord server, which is the same thing as having a higher status NFT. It's pretty funny when you think about it out loud.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, if you want to look for like a very local kind of IRL example of it, if you ever see a group of friends that are really close, they tend to kind of have their almost their own language with each other. Um, and I think that that's pretty much a similar thing to what you're talking about, but just on kind of a more global digital scale, which is that, when you get involved with people, from a relationship standpoint of any kind, you kind of develop your own kind of repertoire and language with each other and your own means of communication. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think building community kind of comes down to building that communication and kind of coming up with those, memes, so to speak, that everybody kind of uses to, have kind of that deeper level of thought with each other. And you kind of mentioned, some of the negative things in the space, which I would love to dive into a little bit. What are some of the more negative, kind of aspects of, say, community building or just the Web3 space in general? You mentioned entitlement, which seems you kind of think of it as a double-edged sword. Are there any other things you can think of that are kind of negatives in the space, or things that you wish would change?
Definitely. I mean, entitlement will always be my biggest, like, the thing that I will hate the most in Web3, because it comes in multiple forms and shapes. It's actually crazy if you try to think about it, how entitlement is big in Web3. But another negative thing would be a lot of teams over promising and under delivering. I don't know. I don't know why this has been happening. Probably because in Web 2, if you promise something, you can eventually achieve it because you have a timeline of years. So the roadmap in Web 2 is over the course of 5 years, 10 years. The roadmap in Web 3 is people will be expecting you to deliver on every single thing you said within a week. So when Persona, for example, got dropped, I was very involved because I minted. I wasn't part of the team. Like, even right now, I'm an ambassador. I'm not part of the core team. So when Persona was minted, The way people were asking about staking since second one, how how could how could there possibly be staking if an NFT project just minted right now? You know, so people are very impatient. I would say this is another negative thing that follows entitlement. It comes with entitlement. People are very impatient. They want everything to happen right now. If you don't pump their bags 1000x in second number one, they will fudge you to failure. So how impatient people are. Entitlement is my is like the biggest one for me, and over promising and under delivering, because if you're getting into Web3 at the end of the day, you have to understand how it works. So if you're not able to give a 1 week roadmap, just don't give a roadmap, or don't give it a roadmap at all. Under promising is always better than over promising. And I don't know. I think team members and teams in general over promise because they want to attract the most amount of people and raise the most and crowdfund the most. And then when they have the money, they feel safe because now they can do whatever with it. And then they get slower on the delivery. But they can't, but they kind of forget that these people who crowdfunded their project are actually expecting things from them. And there's a fine line between having realistic expectations and being a critic and being entitled and just hating a team without understanding what they're doing. So yeah, entitlement, impatience, over promising, under delivering, and yeah, I think these are the main ones.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with those. And this space is definitely no shortage of kind of interesting habits that float around. So with getting back to Kiwi, before we jump into the audience questions, I kind of want to know more about what are your kind of long term ambitions. I know you said which I definitely can appreciate that you don't have VCs or people funding you, so you don't have anyone to answer to but yourself, which obviously is a great thing for someone who wants to build something that adapts with what the market tells you. So what's kind of your long term ambition with it? What's the current status of it, and just the overall breakdown?
My long-term ambition with it is to finally really reach a point where we were able to solve the community issue. This is kind of a midterm goal because on the long term, I have a lot of thoughts and I can't really know. Because again, we're in Web3, we are in Web3, and putting a roadmap that is longer than 1 year is kind of unrealistic, and it would be overpromising myself and my team and even the people. Even though I don't owe them anything, I kind of like to stay as realistic and close to the expectations as possible, because at the end of the day, they follow you, they interact with you for a reason because they believe in you and they trust you and they believe at least a bit of the things that you say. Um, so the midterm goal, like the initial goal, the initial vision, if you want, is to solve this community issue, because I genuinely believe that. So the main problem that I found is the lack of creativity within building communities within Web3 projects. You go into any server, all you see is airdrop farming, playing Gartic and Rumble, and EngageBot, and these things that are just pure incentivization. Um, Low quality, but they just want to, they're just, it's a grind culture, if you know what I mean. And so I noticed that these are very easy things to set up. They don't require a lot of human interaction. And then I asked myself, why is this happening? And I noticed the good community managers are very few, and everybody wants these 10, 20 people, and then they get overworked. And I got overworked back in 2021, so I know what I'm talking about. At some point I was working with 10, 11 projects at the same time, and you can't really build a community if you're not dedicating your time to it. And this is why there are multiple people I'm in DMs with for community manager role, by the way, in the audience, and they know. I asked them, one of the questions that I asked them in DMs is, if you get the role, if we start working together, if we get the projects to work with us, are you able to dedicate to focus on this one project that we will give you? And the thing that we are doing that is a bit different from the rest, and the reason why I like to call it decentralized agency, it's not necessarily decentralized when it comes to the administration of it, but to the concept of it, is that we have a whole database of 500 plus people. We have reached 500 plus qualified people to be in it. I want that every project that works with us, we dedicate one singular community manager to it. And this one community manager will not have multiple, a thousand other things they're doing on the side. And why did I want to do that is because if you look at the very successful communities, for example, Sugartown, you know that Camel is the face of the community. Pudgy Penguins, Luca is the face of the community. D Gods, Frank is the face of the community. You look at other projects that are really mid or um, close to failing. You don't know who's the face of the community. Who's even the community manager in here? Are they close to the people? Do they even know them? Do they even talk about them? Do they go to them? Are there memes around this person? No. So there is no real human connection between the face of this community and the other. So I wanted to solve the issue of overworked community manager and bring back the face of the community type of thing when it comes to the culture. So working with Kiwi will be like having your own in-house team, but you won't. So let's say you're an NFT project or Web3 project or a meme coin or whatever. You want to build something real. You work with Kiwi. You'll have an in-house team because it will be one CM for you, one mod, and this one mod with Kiwi won't be working with multiple projects. It will be assigned to this specific project. So it will be similar to an in-house team, but the even bigger advantage is going to be that you as a team won't have to manage these people because the Kiwi internal team is doing so. There's a whole operating system we're working on. Everything is extremely organized. There is a Kiwi internal team, but this internal team manages the in-house team that we're offering these projects. So we solve the face of the community type of thing. We give opportunities to much more people who haven't been discovered yet because everybody's just going for these 10, 20 people that have been there for a long time and not giving chances to other people. And so we are able to give chances to other people because we have the time to manage them. Because the founder of a project wants to hire a CM so that he has less problems to focus on, not so they manage the manager. They don't want to, nobody wants to manage the manager unless you're a company that manages the manager, you know, that makes sure everything's going right, that makes sure everything's happening the way it should. And so it is bigger and deeper than that, but this is like the whole vision behind it. Building community, bringing back communities, less overworked community managers, better quality communities because the human aspect will be back heavier, and all of the other things. So I noticed that that wasn't something that has been done yet at all. And I decided to hop in it because I love it a lot.
Yeah, as you know, as a project founder, I definitely can appreciate, you know, taking that off the plate of somebody who's got obviously a million other things going on, and dealing with building with a community is an extremely involved task, at many different levels. And even though you hire a content manager, hire someone to kind of help manage the brand, there's still plenty for you to do as a founder when it comes to interacting with the community and still listening to them. So I definitely like that idea of kind of taking a lot of that off their shoulders. What has been like, if you could pick out, a success story with any of the companies you've worked with, under Kiwi, do any examples come to mind, and maybe any numbers of like, the community started at XYZ and then it grew to, so and so and did, achieved any KPIs?
With Kiwi, I still can't really talk about results because it's so new. Like it hasn't even been a month since I launched the whole idea. So I would be lying if I were to talk about Kiwi specific results, but I can talk about personal results with projects that I've worked with under other entities or under my own freelancing thing or whatever. So, one of the biggest success stories was definitely one that happened in 2021, where it was a very local community that was specifically in like the majority of the community members were part of one small country and they sold out 11,000 NFTs. But that was back in the bull run, so I don't really consider it as much right now. Another one is one that I'm currently working with as well and helping. They're on ordinals, and so basically the community is very engaged. We have people talking on the Discord every single day. Zero incentivization. When there's incentivization, the people who participate are more than 3x the number of people who chat normally. So they just chat because they love the mods. We sometimes go on VC, we stream a game. Sometimes I go on VC. I play Wordle. They just go in. One time we played Gartic, which is very cliche, but the twist that I put to it was very authentic. So I was like, there was a person that was winning very, very quickly, and everybody was like, oh my God, this is a bot. I was like, listen, and these are the things people like. This is what makes the change. You can't play Gartic, but what happened? When people thought this person was a bot, I was like, listen, you go on VC right now, and I'll challenge you into a typing contest. You'll live stream your screen, you share your screen. You'll go on this website, 10 Fast Fingers, and if you get over 100 words per minute, you'll choose one person from the community who is in this VC. You'll offer whitelist to, and that way you'll prove to people you're not a bot. And everybody was laughing, everybody was so happy, everybody was in the VC because you were doing incentivization with a big human aspect. So this activity itself really pushed the server's metrics a lot. So people just want you to be present, they want you to be listening because okay, I can really very easily open a a Gartic round on Discord and nobody's focusing. But then when I was able to notice that there was this person who was winning, we laughed about it. We challenged him in a typing contest. It was very fun. It was very interesting. He made other people win whitelist spots. And so it is a very simple activity that really made a huge change in the server because we had new members that week. The metrics were green. I still really dislike the server insights are with the Discord app because they only update them every 2 weeks, so it's very hard to like micromanage the statistics and metrics. But we were able to see a, a good green percentage when it comes to retention. And people started going to VCs on their own. They started getting attached to the mods. And so you can say at the end of the day that people get attached to people way faster than they get attached to a logo. After they get attached to the person inside this logo, they'll get attached to the logo when it gives them social status, when it reminds them of these people they get attached to. So you just have to be present. And whenever the community manager is present and is trying to really make effort and be smart and be emotionally intelligent and be authentic and make people laugh, make people entertain, make people ask questions about the project, it will be successful. And this is like something ongoing right now. You can go and see things that are happening. And I wanted to talk about the most recent thing because I think it's the most realistic because the markets are changing very fast. So there are no dates about the mint, zero prices set, zero reveal about what's coming next. So people don't have any sort of reason to hang out in the Discord, yet they still do because they have fun. They're entertained. We built a culture because there are specific words that we use, there are specific tone of voice that we use. um the mods are consistent, long term people, the team is long term, it doesn't change every now and then. The founder is active on their account, so it's just a mix of paying attention to detail at the end of the day and being present. They just want you to be there with them. They're human beings at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like you said earlier, people just want to be heard at the end of the day. So if you're present with them and hearing them out and kind of delivering on, just kind of that human aspect, I definitely can agree with that. Let's we've got about 10 minutes here. And I've pulled out maybe like 7 questions from the audience throughout the threadcast. So let's just rapid fire through some of these. Fred asks, what's been your greatest challenge throughout your crypto journey?
There has been so many, but one of the main ones regarding, for example, community management, because we're talking about community initially, is uh, you are at the forefront of a project, but you are not the project because there's a team behind it. So the biggest challenge is being able to keep the backend team and the community both happy and both understanding what the other wants, because you're kind of a middleman. You're kind of a middle person because you want to convey the vision of the team, but you also want to make this community happy. And both needs aren't always walking in a parallel line. Sometimes they're very different. Sometimes the team needs to change based on the community. Sometimes the community needs to understand what the team is doing because they really can't change what they're doing. So the biggest challenge is if the team messes up, you're at the forefront, you'll get the hits, and you need to remain calm. And if the community messes up, or if the community stops being interested, how are you going to convey to that team that what they're offering isn't enough for this community, or that everything we've been planning for the past 2 weeks, we need to throw it and change it because the meta changed right now. It is very, very, very challenging because even if it's not your fault, even if you're just a conveyor of message, you are at the forefront and you'll be obligated to problem solve, even if it's not your thing. It's not your thing, but you have to problem solve or else everything will fall apart. So this has been one of the biggest challenges, not gonna lie. Another big challenge is um building your reputation mainly. So building an X, building a community of people you love, going to IRL events, all of that to at the end of the day get jobs or like get opportunities or find clients. Because if you don't find clients or if you don't find a monetary benefit, at the end of the day you'll end up being demotivated. So you have to always find a way to be in business and at the same time have fun, at the same time make money, at the same time find time for yourself, create content. So it's a lot that you're doing. You need to be in multiple places at one time. So it's very ADHD-ish. I do have ADHD. It's one of the good things about it here, but it's not always evident. It leads to burnout if you're not focused enough, if you're not careful enough. There was in 21, 22, like 2021, 2022, I burnt out 3 times in 1 year, which was very bad. So it is a big challenge. So the community one is how to communicate with the team and with the community when when there's a little bit of a conflict between what both parties want. And the second personal one is how to keep yourself in business, especially when you're first starting. When you build yourself up, it's a bit easier because you have your name, you have your reputation, you have your connections. But starting it out is very, very hard. So it's a big challenge. So the only thing you need to do is basically, if something's not working, like, don't be a child. I know this is gonna offend a lot of people, but if for example, DMing this one specific person is not working, you have to stop doing it at some point and try something else that will work better. So just adapt, just like you need to adapt to the market changes, adapt to what works with you and what doesn't, adapt to your skills, work on your skills, and you'll eventually find a way to find business. And that's it.
Idiosyncratic asked, well, he kind of stated something, but I think it's a good question as well. Everyone should start creating digital content at some point, and to kind of frame that into a question for you, what are your feelings towards content in general, especially when it comes to community building and brand building for a Web3 company?
I think I won't say it's mandatory, but it will make your life 100 times easier. So you can find clients without building an audience, but while building an audience, you can find these things 100 times faster. Not even not twice, not 3 times, not 10, 100 times faster. And the bigger your brand is, the faster you can find opportunities, the more you can find opportunities, the wider opportunities will come to you. So you'll have a lot of inbound, which means you have a lot of people interested in working with you and not you reaching out to work with these people. And this works the best because when somebody wants your service, it's way easier to close the deal than if you are trying to convince a person from ground zero um, to actually utilize your service. So building a brand is, for me, it's necessary, but it's not mandatory. So you can still make it without a brand if you're kind of a private person, but I think it's amazing, and honestly, X is the best tool. So us in Web3 are very advantaged because you don't have to dox yourself. So you don't have to post video. You don't even have to talk on spaces. Even though these will make it your brand even faster, but you can do 100% of it through text, which is the most private type of content because In Web 2, it's mostly TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and this is very, very like invasive when it comes to showing your face, talking about your life. People will see how you look like, people will see your entourage. On X, it's more private. So everything that is written, I love. So I love newsletters, I love X, I love LinkedIn. And we are at a very, very big advantage here, because it's very easy, because you don't need to get, you will get out of your comfort zone, but not as much as video. So it's very good for people who are just getting started.
Yeah. Um, Definitely agree with that. Definitely big on. I'm pretty big on content, obviously, when it, you know, with Inleo being a content kind of ecosystem. So I definitely agree that it can kind of be a nice fishing net as well. Sarah asked, well, you mentioned a few times kind of earlier on about your country and the bad economy there. I don't remember if you mentioned it, but she asked which country you're from, and to kind of add to it, how has that, further shaped the way you view, crypto and kind of the more money and, remittance aspect of crypto in general?
Oh wow. I'm from Lebanon, and in Lebanon we don't really utilize bank accounts because 2 years ago we had a very big social economical crisis where all the banks stole every single dime you had in savings. And I'm not exaggerating. If you had any type of savings in the banks, you lost all of them. So nobody trusts the banks now. So crypto is kind of a necessity in my opinion. And still not everybody knows about it. Not a lot of There's a very small amount of people who utilize crypto, but I think for a country like mine it's a big necessity, and onboarding people into crypto is an extreme necessity because it gives you so much freedom. It gives you more trust. There is no centralized entity that is controlling everything and can let you go bankrupt just like the banks did to people's savings. Right now in Lebanon, you can see like an 80-year-old who had millions in the banks who is now working as a security guard because the bank stole all his money. And this is very, very like this is very common right now in the country. So alongside all the other problems that are happening. So being from Lebanon really shaped me because it's a very tough country to live in because of all types of problems. Like, any type of problem you can think of is available here. And so when you are born in a country where you need to work hard to get what you need and it's not just given to you, you form a sort of a resilience that is bigger than other people. So even if you're a minority, you find yourself thriving in hard situations a little bit better than those who were born without any type of problem or without the intensity of the problems that we have here. And crypto is a huge solution for people in my country, in my opinion, because um, one of our main problems is our government, and it's how corrupt it is. And if the governmental situations and actions were on the blockchain, it wouldn't be corrupt because everybody would be able to see what's happening. So the blockchain technology would be a huge use case for us, even the cryptocurrency, because it's decentralized and because you can handle it the way that you want to handle it. Because even if, let's say, they discover a wallet, you can have another one that is more decentralized than Binance, for example. You can still have Phantom MetaMask, and here they don't even know anything much still about crypto. So yeah, that was a very fun question because it's very on point to my situation.
Awesome. Yeah. And I thought it would be a good question to kind of end on to give a little bit more of a personal note and kind of teach people a little bit more about yourself. So, to close this out, where would you send the people to learn more about you, keep up with everything that you're doing, and obviously follow your journey as Kiwi just started and grows from here?
Just my X profile, it's everything I do. This is the biggest, like the platform that I'm mostly active on. I don't really utilize any other platform. So everything I document a lot on X. I post daily content on X. I go on a lot of spaces. I DM a lot of people. I'm part of a lot of communities, so I'm a very active member of the Web3 ecosystem. Even though I'm building and working, I still participate in the community and everything that's happening. So X it is.
Awesome. I just dropped a link in the Threadcast your X account and also to kiwi.io. So everyone can go and follow you there. Thank you so much for doing this. This was really awesome, and I saw a lot of comments from the community that they really enjoyed, the way you spoke, so directly about obviously an aspect that really matters to our platform and ecosystem. So, thanks for coming on, and you were really awesome guest. I'd love to do it again.
Thank you so much for you guys and for in Leo. I appreciate you. I know Eric from a long time ago, so I'm glad we're back in touch. And Kyle, nice to meet you. I really enjoyed this conversation and would absolutely love to do it whenever you want again.